This is Saturday morning. We're over at Pine Oaks. I've got Dave Feldberg with me. Dave, good morning.
How you doing, Billy?
Pretty good, man. This is a vast piece of property, so you guys are going to get to throw a lot all day. Yes. What do you think is going to be the most important thing out there today?
Well, I don't know if you can hear it at home, but there's a lot of wind in the background. On an open course like this, it's hard to get the distance you need into the wind. So I think it's going to be about approaching today. I don't think players are going to be able to get up the fairway far enough to make the approaches easy, and I think the players who are going to be good from about 300 to 200 today are going to be the players who succeed.
Well, I want to ask you another question, Dave. There's a big poll on the front page of the PDGA.com about Player of the Decade, and you know you're in that poll, and the guys would like to know, you know, first off, who do you think the Player of the Decade female-wise would be?
Well, you know, Juliana at the front side and Val on the back side, but I'd have to say for the whole decade it was Des Redding. You know, I mean, from front to back, she was probably the best player overall, and I think that that was her heyday, and I think she should get it.
Well, and now let's move into the men's division where you're actually eligible for the Player of the Decade. What's your feeling on that, trying to be as modest as you can?
I feel that I'm a really solid third. Basically, I didn't play long enough in the decade. I was a rookie pro in the beginning. I mean, if it was the second half of the decade, maybe I could put a bid in there, but it's the whole decade. And I think it's between Barry and Ken, and, you know, Barry's stats are pretty impressive. You know, 36 Super Tours, 18 National Tours, 5 majors.
That was his heyday.
Yeah, most cash, but, and, you know, Kenny had the second best stats. You know, I think he had 11 National Tours, 8 majors, and 27 A-tiers. The only thing is, I'm going to have to go with, surprisingly, I thought I was going to go with Barry Schultz today, you know, or any other time someone asked me, but I'm going to go with quality of play. I'm going to say from the beginning of the decade, it was Ken Kleinman. At the end of the decade, Ken Kleinman was better than Barry Schultz. He was last year, and he was in 2000, so I'm going to have to give it to Ken Kleinman for quality of play.
That's Dave Feldberg. That's his opinion on the big poll.
Opinion.
And go to there and check. Vote yourself. Dave, good luck today. We'll be out there following you a little bit.
Appreciate it.
Well, I've ran down Ken Kleinman. You know, Kenny, I was thinking in our interview the other day in my head, wow, 20 years, and here you are still in the forefront, man. It is very impressive. First off, good morning.
Good morning.
And, you know, here we are in 2010. You won your first Worlds in 1990, and you're still the man. You're in second place right now. You're pushing Michael Joe. And what do you think is going to be the most important thing out here today?
I think, you know, controlling your drives in this wind, putting yourself in a decent spot to throw your up shots on these long holes is going to be key, and then making those up shots count and putting them close so you don't have to have a long putt out in this wind. I think, you know, accuracy is going to be really, really key today, so you don't have to putt. But if you're not that accurate, you have to make some putts out in this wind, and that's going to be tough.
You know, it's going to be a long day. Now, we talked to Dave earlier, and I wanted to ask you the same question. There's a poll at the front page of the PDGA.com, Player of the Decade. And who do you think the female Player of the Decade is, in your opinion?
That's a tough one, you know. I think maybe Des might have the upper hand a little bit on that because she kind of ruled for about 6 or 7 years in the middle there. And there's a few people taking off in the later part of the decade, and there was a few people doing really good in the early part of the decade. But I think Des has handled most of it. I think she's the one that's deserving. And
now on the flip side, tough question, but you know, you're obviously always mentioned in any accolade that we've got in the sport with all of your records. Who do you think the Player of the Decade should be?
You know, it's a tough call. Barry's got some impressive stats, and Dave's played a hell of a decade as well. And you know, my decade, this last decade wasn't my greatest decade, but you know, I played some good golf. I think I got 8 major wins, was 3 more than anybody else, so that might count for a little bit. But I think, you know, Barry might have had a little stronger all over a decade, but he played probably almost twice as many tournaments as I did as well. So it helps you pad your stats a little bit when you play that many tournaments.
Definitely. Well, that's Ken Kleinman, and again, go to the front page of PDGA.com, make your vote. Ken, good luck today. We'll be out there following you.
Thanks, Billy.
Well, I'm here with one of my homies out of Charlotte, North Carolina, Michael Joe. Good morning, brother.
Good morning, Billy.
I tell you, man, you don't get to travel all around the country like a lot of these guys. They knew you were out there yesterday when we were talking to Kenny. They said Michael Joe's still out there, anything could happen. And it certainly did. You came in 12 down, you got the lead. You know, you're a wind player, but you're really primarily known across the world as a woods player, and that's what you showed yesterday. What's going to be important to you out here today in this open, vast piece of property?
Mostly it's going to be just controlling your shots in the wind and giving yourself the putt you would like with the wind you want. You know, leave yourself a tailwind putt if you like it for most spots if you can. Not try to leave myself too many massive headwind putts if I can keep it at that.
Well, we'll be out there watching you today, and hopefully you'll be able to pull that off. Now, we've asked the other guys, we'll ask you about the poll at the front page of PDGA.com. Who does Michael Johansson think the female player of the decade is?
I would say Des, just out of the sheer massive body of work that she's done throughout the whole decade. It would be Des, I would think.
It seems to be a unanimous feeling. And on the flip side, in the male division, who do you think the player of the decade would be?
It's almost a toss-up between Barry and Kenny, but I'd give it to Barry just out of the sheer fact he's put more time on the road than Kenny's been able to this last 5-6 years of Kenny's career. Barry's been out on the road a lot more to play a lot more of the big events and won a lot more of the national tours and A-tiers, so I'd leave it a little edge to Barry, not by much, but a little bit.
Well, that's Michael Johansson. He's in the lead here at the second national tour of the year. We'll be out there today. We'll let you know how he did. Good luck, Michael Joe.
Thanks, Bill.
Well, this is Billy Crump, and it's been another long day. I'm fortunate enough to have been riding around on a golf cart all day today, but we've had some stuff shake out. First place right now, the young man Garrett Gerthy out of Gainesville, Florida. Garrett had a big day. He did have one episode where he took 3 putts. He was putting for birdie, and then suddenly he was putting for bogey. Didn't seem to faze him though. He kept his head on, kept a good mind, and that kid's in the lead right now by 1 stroke. Pushing right behind him, Mr. Nate Doss. Nate fresh out here on tour for real right now. He's living on the road. He's really working on his game, and you can see it. He was out driving Garrett on some of those shots, and that's just not possible on most days. Moving into the lead card, number at 21 under in third place, tied for third, Nico LaCastro, all the way from Missouri. Nico had a big day as he shot a 71. Dave Feldberg tied for third. He also shot a 72. He'll be moving into the lead card. Tomorrow you'll have Garrett, Nate, Nico, and David Feldberg. That'll be the lead card on the final round here at the second national tour. David had a good day as well with that 72. Also tied for third, Ken Climo and Michael Johansson. They'll be the leaders of the second card. Kenny's birthday today, turned 42, had an unfortunate incident there late. You heard him talk about it in the interview. But it's okay. Kenny's got his head on. He's the captain of the team. He knows what he's got to do tomorrow and come out, and he'll be ready to play. He'll be playing with Michael Johansson, who had a tough day. He shot a 76. Garrett beat him by 5 strokes. He had a 3-stroke lead on Garrett coming in. We are really bunched up all the way down through the 8th place, tie for 7th, where we've got Avery Jenkins and John E. McRae. They're at 19 under. Had good rounds today, both of them. Shooting a 74, and I tell you, tomorrow that second card is going to be powerful. We've got Ken Climo, Michael Johansson, Avery Jenkins, and John E. McRae, and everybody on those first 2 cards within 4 strokes of the lead. It's anybody's tournament. Rounding out the top 10, Mr. Jeff Leyland, tough round today with a 79. He sits at 14 under, and Chris Orrick, all the way from Tennessee, sitting in 10th place at 12 under. Now let's go over and let's let you hear from Mr. Climo. It is his birthday today. Here's Kenny. Well, I'm here with the man, the champ. And in case you don't know, happy birthday, Ken.
Thanks, Billy.
Ken's 42 today. He's been the man for the last 20 years. And I tell you, man, touchy subject, but you got bumped out of the lead card. And I feel like it was because of an issue that happened with the camera. Kenny can put this in. He could go to bed with the lead yet again. Oh, as he splashes out to the right. Tell me what happened, man. I mean, you held your own out there pretty good. I would have lashed out personally, so just tell me what happened.
Yeah, I had a pretty good round going, you know, and would have been nice to close it up with a couple of birdies. I had some looks, but unfortunately I had a loud camera incident on the second to last hole well before my putt was released, and it was a PDGA guy who should know better. And, you know, I think that's just wrong. Someone who knows better shouldn't do that, especially when it comes down to possibly being the stroke that I needed to win the tournament. I just think it's wrong, you know. I mean, you should definitely be able to conduct yourself in a little more professional manner if you're out there taking pictures. Like after the release, you shoot the picture, not before the release, you shoot the picture. Just word to the warning for everybody out there taking pictures. Do it after the guy releases, or else you're going to bother him.
All right, that's Kenny Climo, and it's his birthday. He's still got a smile on his face. That incident might have cost him the lead card tomorrow, but this man can win from the second card. Good luck, Kenny.
Back.
Well, Kenny not happy. He got some reason not to be happy there, but he's put it behind him. He'll come out tomorrow with a fresh attitude. And now we're going to go over and let you hear from Mr. Nate Doss. Nate had a great day today. Let's hear what he's got to say. Well, I got Nate with me, and Nate is on the lead card, couple back there, and boy, you guys blew past Michael Joe and had your own little battle. It was all he could do to keep up. You're not known again as that distance player, but I watched you outdrive Garrett Gerthy and the rest of those boys several times today, so you must have had a good groove going.
Yeah, I felt good. I've been working on my game now for a few weeks here, ever since the Memorial, and it was just a lot of fun today to play out there with Garrett and Kenny on his birthday, and Michael Joe with a great attitude. So it was a lot of fun today, and it really wasn't hard to play the 24 holes out there.
Well, now we've got a contest going on at the PDGA, and we've been asking some of the guys. You're one of the lucky guys to be on that list, actually, which is a pleasure. Yeah. And you know, let me ask you first about the females. Who does Nate Doss think that the female player of the decade is?
I think that the player of the decade is definitely Des Redding. She's a fantastic player, and you know, she really had a great 10 years there, and really took over after Juliana stepped down. I also think that Valerie was really was the best player for the last 5 years, but you know, I think the question is over 10 years, and I think Des really is a fantastic player and deserves that award.
Well, now we're going to ask the touchy question, because you're on the list. Who do you think the male player of the year is for the last decade?
I'm definitely not the player of the decade. I think that I've been maybe, you know, the top 1 or 2 players in the last 4 or 5 years, ever since I won my first world championship. But
now has 2.
Yeah, now has 2. But I really do think that Ken Climo is still the player of the decade. He won a couple world championships, I think 3 U.S. Open titles in those 10 years.
8 majors in that 10-year span.
8 majors, and he's just really the most consistent player across the board. And for his age, he definitely deserves to be player of the decade, and I really congratulate him for playing that well over the last 10 years.
Well, he's actually played that well over the last 20 years, which is absolutely amazing when you really look at it and put it in perspective.
Oh, absolutely. I never had a chance to play against him when I was that young, and really I turned pro in 2000, so I really consider me and Kenny's battles over the last 10 years, and I think he's definitely got me. So he's my you know, player of the year, or player of the decade on the male side, definitely.
That's Nate Doss. Nate's going to be 1 out of the lead. You're going to get to see him play 24 holes here tomorrow on DVD. Get you a good night's rest, Nate.
I will. Thanks, Billy.
Well, Nate there with a good interview, putting his 2 cents in with, leaning towards Des, leaning towards Kenny. Nate says he's not in contention, but I tell you, with 2 world championships and all the titles he's won, he's got to be considered. Now let's move over and let's get that interview you want to hear. Here's your leader overnight. Here's Garrett Gerthy. Well, this is Billy Crump. Boy, have I had a good day. I got to walk around with the second card for 12 holes. Let's change that. I got to ride around on a cart. I also got to follow lead card for the last 12. And this is your overnight leader now, Garrett Gerthy. 14 under, man, and you had a little trouble out there, but you worked right through it.
Part of the holes with the hills out there, I had a little trouble on my putts, but all in all, I got through the course on all the long holes and tried to use the long course to my advantage, and try to minimize my putting out there. So keep it close to the hole out there.
Well, I tell you, man, you really kept your head on. You had a 3-putt. You know,
right.
I mean, you hear sometimes you're still out again,
right.
and you came right back, and sometimes that can just be a round changer, and I was really proud of you. You
right.
seemed to just muster through it. What was going on there?
Here on the disc golf course now, I love playing tournaments, and that's one thing I always try to do is keep my head up no matter what I just did. Every time I play a bad hole, it makes me worse throughout the whole rest of the round if I'm in a slump. So I just try to pull up and get up and try to move on to the next hole. Don't worry about that last hole. There's nothing you can do about it. Made a putting error, but as you see, I got back out there and did my thing.
Attaboy. Double G, he's going to bed. It don't matter what he eats tonight. It's going to taste real good.
That's
Congratulations.
Right. Thanks, Billy.
Boy, I tell you, Garrett's got a big smile. He's confident. He wants to win the national tour here in Florida. And if he continues on at this pace, he's going to be tough to catch tomorrow. Well, in addition to the open men on this beautiful track, we also have the open women. And Miss Valerie Jenkins is taking a substantial lead. Her knee seems to be okay. She really let her power come out today. She now has a 12-stroke lead going into the last round. And in second place, Miss Liz Carr. And Liz, who had some trouble, her tire flew off her car on Friday. Last night, she went out. She said her wallet and her cell phone got stolen at the Hooters. Liz is not having a good week, but Liz is throwing some good shots. She moved right past Carrie Berlager. She's 1 stroke ahead of Carrie. Carrie's in third. Didn't have the best of rounds today, but we look for Carrie to bounce back tomorrow and have a good day. But right now, Val's got control of that division if she can just finish tomorrow. Now in the Masters division, they're also playing out here with us. I told you yesterday if them boys couldn't throw long, they'd be in trouble, and apparently they didn't heed my warning, because Mr. Phil Arthur, after being 3 strokes back after yesterday's round, now 8 strokes in the lead. Phil comes out, shoots a 75. He has really put the moves on. He is taking control of the division, and if these guys don't step up tomorrow, Phil will be running away with that thing. Chris still in second, Michael Paulette still in third. They'll be playing together again tomorrow. This is the Sunshine State Shootout in Florida. This is Saturday afternoon. It's about 75 degrees, man. It is beautiful. I don't know why you're not here, but you want to put this tournament on your schedule for next year. We'll be back tomorrow. We'll let you know how this thing shakes out. We'll be with that lead card for the final round, all 24 holes, and you can get these rounds on DVD at Clash DVD in just a couple months. You don't want to miss seeing this track. Be sure to get yours on order. We'll see you tomorrow.